Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome you to another episode of the Gafford and Brown Show. My name is Lamar Gafford,
And I'm Robert Brown.
and once again, we have another good show for you. I know you missed us a little bit, but we are right back. I know, hey, work sucks, but this is it's a living that we all got to bake and everything. But first of all, we wanted to talk about the Super Bowl that's coming up right now. We got ourselves a very good game for Super Bowl 47 between the San Francisco 49ers and the Baltimore Ravens. Both of these teams, there's a lot of storylines that's going on with this game here. You got the first time the two brothers are coaching against each other in the Super Bowl, and you also got Ray Lewis is trying to get his quest for a second ring. You also got like players like Randy Moss is also trying to get his first ring. What is the biggest storyline do you think out of this game here for us, Rob?
Well, for me, it goes down to the quarterback play. It goes down to the amazing, young quarterback play in Kaepernick, and then there's Joe Flacco, who we've been making this argument with for like the last several years. Is he elite? Is he good? Is he average? Is he a bust? And those storylines to me, are what's central in this Super Bowl because Flacco, he has a great game, puts up huge numbers, and they win. Well, he's more than likely going to get the contract that he claims he deserves.
Mm-hmm.
If Colin Kaepernick has a great game, then there's no debate. He's clear. He's the future of the 49ers, and Alex Smith is more than likely gone.
Mm-hmm.
So, for me, it comes down to the two quarterbacks. What about you, Lamar?
And I have to pretty much have to say the same thing. I mean, you can take the quarterback play for that, but another good storyline that I really like about this is the coaching aspect of the whole thing. I mean, these are two this is like we said, this is the first time we got two brothers in the Super Bowl, and we almost had it last year had it not happened for some unforeseen things. But you know the both of these coaches right here, they have a physical style of play. It looks like they're kind of mirror images with each other. They favor a little bit of a strong running game, which right now, what you see with the 49ers, they kind of open up their offense a little bit. And Joe Flacco has had his offense open up a little bit too. But notoriously, they have a very good defense. I mean, you've seen the 49ers, they're physical, and you always know about what the Ravens defense brings out of this too. So really, I feel like that with this coaching here, it's going to be a very well coached game, don't you think, Rob?
No, I totally agree. You have two first-class coaches in the Harbaugh brothers, and I see this game going down basically to just defense. I think it's gonna be a defensive struggle. I can see this game being easily 17 to 13, 13, 16 type of game. I see both of these teams really, when you look at they match up so well because the playing styles are kind of similar.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Kaepernick he has more of the zone read game going. He's mobile, while Flacco has the big arm. He throws it downfield. He's more so more like kind of reminiscent of Big Ben to me sometimes. A more precise Big Ben with his play, and it's going to be a great game. You have two backs that really can manage the game. That really can eat a lot of clock up in Frank Gore with 49ers, and you have Ray Rice with the Ravens. So I'm definitely excited to see how this goes. I see it going down to the wire. Wouldn't be shocked if the game went to overtime because these coaches are. I mean, they know each other well. I know they've been watching each other throughout the season, and I'm pretty sure that they have a game plan set up to where each brother is going to neutralize each team's strengths. What about you? Who do you think, Lamar?
I'm pretty much going to think the same thing. I'm going to hold off on my pick until after the segment, but I think it's going to be pretty much like, 17-13, 17-14. It's really going to be a very close game that's going to be determined by a field goal or at least a touchdown or anything. It's not going to be a blowout. I really think both of these teams are going to bring it. Once again, though, it just really depends on who really comes out, establishes momentum right away. I mean, establishes momentum right away, and that's pretty much is going to be the team who I think is going to pretty much win the game here. Now, I know earlier were talking about Flacco, stating his case of being an elite quarterback, and I've been hearing this for a lot of people saying that maybe he has taken that step, finally taken that step. What do you think? Do you think he's right there, or do you think he has a little bit more to go? Like, maybe winning the Super Bowl could push him to that elite status.
Well, when it comes to elite quarterbacks, I still say that it's Brady, Breeze, Manning, Rodgers, and you can throw Ben Roethlisberger in there.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody else is, then you have a second tier that's just good, and you have your average, and then you have your below average.
Right.
And I think right now, Flacco falls into that good category. So even with the Super Bowl win, I will still have him listed as good. I don't think he's elite yet. I think he's a good quarterback that has a lot of potential. He's just 28. He has a couple more years in him. But other than his ability to throw the deep ball, I really don't see much, greatness per se in Flacco. Other than the fact that he can throw the hell out of a long ball, and he has poise in the pocket. But other than that, I just don't really see the greatness label. If Flacco were to win the Super Bowl and his career end next season, he'll be the guy that won the Super Bowl with the Ravens that year. He'd be like a better version of Trick Dilfer to me, who won the Super Bowl with the Ravens back in 2000. So it's not a knock to Flacco or anything. It's not a knock to his playing ability. It's just that right now, with the level of competition that's in the NFL, with the Bradys, the Mannings, the Brees, the Rodgers, the Ben Roethlisbergers, it's very hard to put him in that status, that clout with these other players that have Super Bowl wins, more than one Super Bowl appearances, playoff victories, and they also have they're the faces of their franchise, respectively. And right now, Ray Lewis is still the face of that Baltimore franchise, and their defense has been their rock for so long that it's hard to give Flacco that elite status when you have such a great, superior defense giving you these opportunities, keeping you in games, neutralizing other teams, getting you the ball back, things like that. So it's hard to say that right now for me. What about you, Lamar?
Right, and hey, that is a very good point that you really brought up too, because I mean, I feel like this, even with the Super Bowl, if let's say they do win the Super Bowl, I really can't put him like in the top 5 because I mean, like we said, I don't think because you got the upper echelon, like you said, Peyton, you have Peyton, you have Brady, you have Drew Brees, you have Aaron Rodgers. And, the 5th spot can sometimes be revolving around a little bit, but I really don't think Flacco is enough to he's not a top 5 quarterback in my mind. Now, could he be a top 10 maybe with this win? Possibly so, because, I mean, he does possess a little bit of a stronger arm. He can be a pretty good quarterback that can do pretty well, but once again, like you said, he's not the face of the Baltimore Ravens. It's pretty much when you think about the Baltimore Ravens, you're thinking Ray Lewis, and you don't think about Joe Flacco. Now maybe that could change in a few years. Who knows? I don't know. But at this point in time, is he an elite guy? No. Is he good though? Yes. Can he be very good? Yes. But And like you said, it's not a knock to his accomplishments because, I mean, just coming from as a rookie, this is his 5th year. Every single year that he's been in the league, he has at least had a playoff victory, and that's just amazing right there to me. And did most of that stuff on the road. But can we really put him in the upper echelon? I don't really think so. And because sadly, it's not him. It's just that you can't really throw out that elite name some of the times. But could it help him out in a long way? Maybe so.
Right. And the contract disputes, the contract that he deserves the contract. It keeps going. I would say he deserves a contract. He deserves to be paid more because Flacco wasn't like it's not like he's making Sam Bradford money. And
Hmm.
right now, he's done more than Sam Bradford, so you can make an argument that he deserves that type of payroll. But to say he needs to be the highest quarterback, the highest paid quarterback in the NFL is ridiculous.
No.
And to say deserves Drew Brees type money is a little bit of a stretch because Drew Brees means much more than football to the New Orleans Saints.
Exactly, and especially with Drew Brees' case, it just doesn't it's not just the Saints, but he helped kind of revive that city. So I wouldn't say Drew Brees money. I would really say though, could you break open the bank, give him a double digit $1 million contract, possibly so, but should he be high paid? Nah, nah, nah. I really don't think so in that regard either. But let's also talk about the other quarterback too in this one, and Colin Kaepernick. And it seems like that ever since the 49ers made that switch from Colin, it pretty much helped them out. It was had a little bit of criticism at first, but it really helped them out in this case. It looks like right now though, Alex Smith is going to be pretty much like Drew Bledsoe in this case, and it looks like he might seek his release and go somewhere else. Uh, could you care to tell me a little bit about, well, about the quarterback switch, and where you think Alex Smith will go, Rob?
Well, the switch was a little abrupt considering that Alex Smith was doing well and his numbers really supported his argument that he deserved another shot as starter. However, you can't really regret the decision now, considering the fact that the Niners are in the Super Bowl, and that come from behind win against Atlanta. To me, really cemented Colin Kaepernick's as a starter for the Niners. Like he took this team and put it on his back, and he was able to make the correct throws, make very minimal mistakes, and keep them in the game and bring them back. And you can't overlook that. So it's unfortunate for Alex Smith, who's been playing well, and he's found his profile. It's unfortunate to see him go through this, but he's going to do well. He's going to bounce back. You look at some of the teams that need quarterbacks. There's the Raiders. There's the Kansas City Chiefs. There's a possibility he could land in Buffalo if the Ryan Fitzpatrick experiment continues to fail. He has like Arizona is a great place I can see him in. So there's plenty of places he can go. It's not like he's going to be out of a job for long. So while you say it's unfortunate for Alex Smith, and then look at the bright side.
Right.
If the Niners win, he gets a Super Bowl ring.
Hey.
So, it's not that bad. You don't have to cry for the guy because he's going to do well regardless, of his situation right now. So, he's a great guy. He's going to bounce back. How do you feel about Lamar?
Hey, it's pretty much the same thing. And hey, look at the irony of this whole thing too. I mean, the last time the Super Bowl was in New Orleans, a number one pick quarterback got benched for a young hotshot guy that was in his second year, and hey, it didn't turn out too bad for Drew Bledsoe, now did it?
Right.
I mean, he got his ring. He got his ring, and he got a chance to move on elsewhere. And then Tom Brady, he holds on to, it stays on with the New England Patriots and builds up his legacy. So it's not really a bad idea. But will he get a chance to move on? I'm pretty sure of it. And will he get a chance to get a a new fresh, somewhere else? I'm sure of that too, because there's plenty of places that really need another quarterback. And again, it's kind of like the usual suspects again, like Arizona, Kansas City, maybe Buffalo, all those different places. So of course he's gonna land on his feet. Some team is gonna take a chance at him, because I've really seen the progression from this guy. And before 2001, a lot of people were quick to label him pretty much as a bust. But what he did during 2011, shall I say, what he did in 2011, the game against the New Orleans Saints, that wild game right there, and how he did this season before he got hurt, it really helped out a whole lot. So, like I said, can't feel bad for the guy. He's gonna get well. He's gonna bounce right back and land on his feet and all that.
Right, exactly. and he's going to do well in whatever franchise he ends up landing. And the guy, he's finally found his niche now. He knows what type of player he is. He knows he's capable of having success. So the sky's the limit for Alex Smith right now.
Exactly. So now it comes to pretty much the time for us to really predict our winners. And of course, if you guys want to also chime in, you can pick your winners on the comment box on the right, or also send it to our Twitter names, Primetime2832 or Uptown Bobby, or you can Skype us your pick during the whole show. But Rob, who do you think is going to win this game and why?
Well, honestly, right now, I'm going with San Francisco because I think they're capable of neutralizing Flacco. And I think their offense with his own read, I think the Baltimore defense will have to respect Kaepernick's ability to run with the ball, and that's going to open up opportunities for him to, make passes to Barney Davis and make the big plays to Crabtree, and get the necessary yardage to put them in scoring position. It's going to be a great game. Though I'm picking San Francisco more so from a hard perspective because Baltimore, I kind of put my Broncos out the playoffs and still kind of heartbroken about that. So yeah, I'm picking the Niners. What about you, Lamar?
I'm going pretty much with the Ravens on this one. I feel like that they are a team of destiny here, and it just seemed like right now that they're pretty much playing on an emotional high, and I know they really want. I want to see Ray Lewis go out a winner. I mean, he really deserves it and everything. And as much as I really love to see Randy Moss try to get himself get the Super Bowl ring that he rightfully deserves, I feel like that he may be another year for him. And also, I kind of don't want to see the 49ers get past the Cowboys in terms of Super Bowl rings either. But but really, I think it's going to be the Ravens. They're a team of destiny. I really want to see Ray Lewis go out in his career with a ring. I also want to see those guys like Ed Reed, that he hasn't got a ring yet, and I really want to see him get his chance at a ring too. And I really think that they're pretty much deserve it. And again, they had their playoff run of them, beating not just Manning but also Brady on the road too. I mean, you got to give your hats off to them, and I really think they deserve it in that case.
Right, exactly. And just I think it's going to be a great game. I think it's going to be one of the Super Bowls. I think it'll be better than last year's game, and I think it'll be one that we'll remember for a while because both of these teams match up so well on paper. I mean, you have, like I said, you get the running back game. You have two Pro Bowl running backs. You have two young quarterbacks. One who's a veteran now, but a young veteran. You have Kaepernick, the guy who's trying to make a name for himself, who's played amazing this playoff run. He's broken records. He's set records. The kid is doing phenomenal. And you have the story of Ray Lewis and going out on top. You have the brother storyline. There's just so many elements to the Super Bowl that make it special compared to, ones we've seen prior to this.
Yeah, exactly. And it's always good to really get ourselves pretty much of a fresh Super Bowl as well, because I think this is like the first Super Bowl in a long time that doesn't have, Brady or a Manning brother in there in the game. So, get a chance to see some fresh new faces, promote them a little bit, and hey, I mean that's the one thing that I could take out of this one right there, because you're kind of tired of seeing the same old stuff, but get some new blood in there, get some new ideas, get some some new faces, some new storylines, and hey, I mean it turns out to be like this.
Right.
But yeah,
it's great. It's building new stars. Flacco, he wins Super Bowl, he'll get that contract, and maybe he'll continue to play at this high level, and then we can make the case of him being elite.
Exactly. So then we're gonna go ahead and take ourselves a 30-second break. we might try to, try to come also about the Super Bowl. We might try to come back on sometime sooner this week. We might again, you just have to, ask us, and we'll try to keep you informed about that. But we're gonna take ourselves a 30-second break too, and we're gonna get on to the topic of the NBA. We're gonna talk about the New Orleans Hornets' new name. It's official now, but we'll be right back in 30 seconds to talk about that. This is the Gafford and Brown Show. All right, we're right back with the Gafford and Brown Show. Once again, we were just talking about the Super Bowl, but let's also stick with the New Orleans topic here. And it looks like the New Orleans Hornets got themselves a new name, and it's going to be the New Orleans Pelicans. And man, I mean, the logo has gotten itself a very mixed reaction and everything, but I can really say this. I really like the logo. I really like the name and everything. I kind of wish it should have been a little bit different, but, I feel like it's a very good marketing ploy in this one right here, in this case. What do you think about that, Rob?
Well, I warmed up to the name. Initially, I was taken aback by it. I thought it was like, it's a little too long, just not really catchy. Because I see myself saying this over and over again, considering that we live in Louisiana, we're from Louisiana. Mm-hmm. So it was a bit, but after a while, it started to set in that, hey, Louisiana State Birds and Pelicans, it's the culture, it's the state. Then I finally saw the gear. It's appropriate. The color scheme, the logo, I like it. I mean, let's be honest. We inherited the Hornets name. It was never a Louisiana thing or a New Orleans thing. It's just something we were given because Charlotte Hornets moved to New Orleans.
Right.
Now, if it were a perfect world, we could go back and get the Jazz name from Utah. But David Stern, the Jazz owners in Utah. I mean, it was too many, hoops to jump through. Mm-hmm. So, we had to come up with something new. And I've heard names like Crawfish and there's all types of ridiculous Louisiana-related names I brought up that kind of go, borderline corny and borderline, okay, that makes no sense. So Pelicans was, if you look at it, it's the best medium. It's the best balance. It's about as Louisiana as you're going to get without being too corny. And it's fierce. Logo, it looks fierce. It looks, dominant. It looks like something that, you would want to wear. Let's look at some NBA teams' names. Okay, the Lakers, they inherited that from Minnesota.
Right.
Minnesota, land of 1,000 lakes. Okay, Laker, what the hell is a Laker when you take it out of Minnesota and put it in LA?
Exactly.
You don't know what the hell is that. A Clipper, what the hell does that mean? Los Angeles Clippers, don't get it. We talking about razors? What are we talking about? You have just the Knicks. What the hell is a Knickerbocker? I don't know what a Knickerbocker is. Knicks sound cool, but what's a Knickerbocker? It's just things like that. It's kind of silly. So, we were taking it a bit too serious, the whole name change. I think people are overreacting. The Cleveland Browns, the worst named franchise at all of sports, in my opinion. But hey, they're a legendary franchise. They have great fans, and their merchandise sells. The name is the Browns. It could be much worse. It could be much worse than Pelicans. That's all I'm saying.
And you're absolutely right about that. The different names that I really saw thrown in there, it's, like I said, it's just, like you said, it's just, some of the names were corny. And, hey, the Pelicans, it might, and who knows? You never know. With the young team that they have right now, of Anthony Davis, and if Austin Rivers can get back on track, and, Eric Gordon and all those boys right now, hey, what really happens? What could happen? Let's just say they do very well in about, let's say, 2 or 3 years. Get to a pretty good consistent level and make it to at least the playoffs every single year. Get to at least to the second round or maybe even the Western Conference Finals and all that. Who knows what could happen to that name? That name might catch a little bit of traction. That name could, a lot of gear will sell everything. So, it's easy to bag the name now for a lot of people. But once once you start winning and everything gets a little bit better. I remember what happened with you remember what happened with the Oklahoma City Thunder, right?
Right, yeah. The name change. I mean, all the contest and all of that.
Good. That's a very good point about that one. A lot of people were talking about the Thunder, their whole name and everything. When they moved from Seattle to Oklahoma City, a lot of people were like, "Oh my goodness! Well, what are they doing? What are they doing with this name?" I mean, the logo looked kind of generic. The uniforms
Yeah.
look kind of generic, but
Right.
5 years later, you see the team that they put out there on the field, on the court with Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, Serge Ibaka. At the point in the time, James Harden was on the team at the time, even though he was a major part of the team, but you get what I'm trying to say about that.
Right.
A lot
the
of
merchandise sales.
the merchandise is sold.
The logo has been accepted. The name has been accepted. People, we tweet hashtag Thunder Up now. It's kind of cool now. We turned it into something cool.
And so basically, a lot of the same people that are probably bagging this name right now, as long as if they win, if they do well, and they have the young core that probably can do well, and they probably can, make the Southwest Division a little bit of a tough one, like it's always been. They possibly could, make that name acceptable and everything. I mean, at the point in time, the only team I really can think of that's named the Pelicans, I think Homer, and that's a team that's pretty much in high school that's pretty much around the same area as we are in. But hey, that could help out a whole lot. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe the Homer Pelicans might even try to borrow the logo a little bit or something.
Right. And like you said, winning cures everything. So if they put a good product out on the court and they win games and they do well, people are going to forget all about it. They're going to get the jerseys, they're going to get the hats, they're going to get the gear, and it's going to take off.
It really will. And I see for one of the pictures here, I see that they still have the fleur de lis thing too. So I really like the idea that they kept that as well, because that's a pretty much of a symbol of Louisiana. So again, you got to keep it in Louisiana in house and all that. What would I have wanted it to be though? I really would have wanted it to be the blues, and maybe they could have promoted like a blues or a jazz singer or some type of New Orleans, some type of New Orleans musician or something like that, whether it be famous or underground or something like that, and promote them at halftime. But hey, like you said, Pelicans, very good name, all that. I mean, I really can't say too much bad things about that name.
Right, it's going to work out. Like I said, once they start winning, people will overlook that, and things will pick up, whatever.
Oh yes, most definitely. And let's keep it inside the NBA right now. We're pretty much hit the halfway point of the season, and really, my question for you right now is, we're just going to do a little bit of a question here. Who has been the most impressive team so far to you this season, and who has been the most disappointing team this season for you, and who's been basically the best surprise team for you this season, Rob?
Man, most impressive, Golden State Warriors. Here's why. Mark Jackson, in his second season, has come into this franchise, and he's laid down the groundwork for a future contender in the West by implementing defense first, teamwork, and a swagger about them. I mean, they have this confidence now that they could beat you, on their court, your court, that they're just as good as the Thunder, as the Clippers, the Heat in the East, the Knicks. They have a confidence about them now that was absent. They haven't had this confidence since Baron Davis and, Steven Jackson played with them back in '07.
Mm-hmm.
It's back now. And it's great to see them doing this well, because Golden State Warriors fans are some of the best fans in the NBA. They're very smart. They're very vocal. They're very passionate about this team. And when they win and when they do well, the arena is on fire. I mean, you can look at other teams that do well. The Atlanta Hawks They put out a solid team that makes the playoffs almost every year, yet they struggle with attendance. Golden State Warriors fans show up regardless. During those Monte Ellis days where they would always finish outside of the playoff race, you know, they will always be in the draft, picking high in the NBA lottery. Those fans stayed there. So to see them finally living up to their potential, it's great to watch. It's a great story to see the development of Steph Curry, to see Klay Thompson finally, you know, coming to his own, to see David Lee, a player who's been so good for so long when he was a Knick, and now in Golden State, to see him finally get the credit he deserves, finally get, you know, the publicity he deserves, to get his, you know, his All-Star selection. It's great to see, and I'm just really impressed with this team, and they're going to be fun to watch for a while. Most disappointing team, let's stay in the West, got to be the Lakers. It has to be the Lakers. You look at this Lakers team on paper, they should at least have 20-plus wins, close to 30 wins. I mean, that's from on paper. And, you know, when the deal for Howard was made, when Nash was acquired, you know, so many people were quick to write them into the Western Conference Finals or the NBA Finals, thinking, you know, overlooking the fact that Steve Nash is close to 40. Dwight Howard is recovering from back surgery. You know, he's never really played with another dominant superstar such as a Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant is 34. You know, he's still able to put a point, but you look at his shot total, his shot selection, his lack of passion on the defensive end. The team never really respecting Mike Brown. Mike Brown getting fired. The panic hire with Mike D'Antoni. There's just a lot of question marks for this Lakers team in their future. And, you know, they're doing really bad right now. And if they're able to somehow, some way make the playoffs, I can't see them beating none of the other 7 teams in the playoffs. If the playoffs, I can't see them beating, they definitely couldn't beat the Thunder, Spurs, or Clippers in 7 games. They couldn't beat Houston. They couldn't beat Memphis. They couldn't beat, who else is in the playoff race right now? They couldn't beat Portland in a 7-game series. You know, there are a lot of good teams. They couldn't beat Golden State in a 7-game series. They couldn't beat any of those teams in a 7-game series. So even if the Lakers do somehow, some way make the playoffs, you can expect to see an early exit because they're just not that good right now. And who knows if they'll be good next season? Who knows if this is really the beginning of the rebuilding of the Los Angeles Lakers? Because it's bad right now. And, you know, Kobe Bryant, he's going to the Hall of Fame. He's a legend. Probably the greatest two-guard behind Michael Jordan. But right now, even his heroics can't save this team. And they're not going to win a title this year. That's apparent. And they probably won't make the playoffs this year. And it's almost embarrassing because seeing the playoffs without the Lakers is weird. It's awkward. It's like not seeing the Yankees in the playoffs. It's weird. So that's a strong possibility. And, you know, this has been a good season so far. There's been so many surprises. The continued arrival of Kyrie Irving has been fun to watch. I mean, this kid has come from, you know, being a questionable point guard. You know, is he really a two-guard? Is he really going to be able to transition to the NBA game to being one of my favorite players to watch? You have the James Harden trade, which turned out to be a blessing for both teams in Oklahoma and Houston. Oklahoma continues to be a great team, continues to be one of the best teams in the NBA. And then you have James Harden, who we all knew he was a superstar, but man, has he taken off. And he has this Houston team putting up, you know, points that we've never seen Houston do. Even during a lot of one, they're averaging like 100 a game.
Oh, yes.
Great numbers, great team, fun to watch. You know, the Knicks, their continued success, the struggles in Boston, will they be able to overcome Rondo's season-ending injury? The Heat continue to do well. There's just so many great storylines going on. So many, you know, epic matchups we can expect come playoff time. I'm excited. What are some of your thoughts about this season, Lamar?
I'm pretty excited about it, too. I mean, you had just also mentioned the Rockets. I mean, they just came also off of a 45-point win against the Utah Jazz. And, I mean, that was just amazing right there, and it's in that's own right. I feel bad for the case of like Rondo, and you hate to see a player like that go down, and especially with the torn ACL. It's kind of like what Derrick Rose is trying to come back from as well, but a guy that's pretty much entering his prime of his career. Rondo has really bumped himself up to like a top five, maybe even a top three point guard in the league, and to see that happen is kind of bad. Really looking at this half of the season here, we've got ourselves some very good basketball. As far as the most impressive team, you had said about the Warriors. I pretty much have to agree on that one too. I mean, the way that they've really done very well, it's just been amazing. Mark Jackson, at one point in time last year, a lot of people were thinking, well, really, is he a good fit because he had no NBA coaching experience? But the way that he's really taken off, and the way that he's really gotten his team to play hard and and all, it's just been amazing about this. And I really cannot wait to really see them in the playoffs, because the last time I saw them in the playoffs, they beat that was the year that he made it as an 8 seed. They beat the Mavericks, who had a 67 game season, and just even though they beat that team, just seeing the place in Oracle Arena, it was just wild and amazing every single year, and especially when Baron Davis did that dunk on AK-47. The disappointing again, like you said, the Lakers as well. I mean, I, I, to even piggyback on that one, I really can't see any team that they can beat in the playoff race, probably except for maybe Utah. Probably, maybe except for them. I think the fact of the matter is, point guard play. Steve Nash. I like Steve Nash, but he can't play defense, and they just have so many problems right now. And the Lakers, they don't rebuild, they retool. But maybe this might be the point in time they might need to rebuild in the case. Um, let's also talk about right now about the All-Star game too. And did you get a good chance to see the All-Star list, Rob?
Yeah, I got to see the All-Star list, and I mean, off top, first off, the fact that Steph Curry is not an All-Star is really unfortunate. I don't want to use big words like travesty or blasphemy and things of that nature, because it's still just a game.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a slight, because the guy's been playing hard, and to see him not make this team is kind of unfortunate, because I mean, yeah, he's going to get other chances because he's young, but he's had injuries that have hindered him from being as great as he is now. So to see him being so great right now while he's healthy and putting up these numbers and leading this team and no one expected to do so well right now, not make the playoffs is kind of unfortunate. You feel for the kid, but hopefully if he stays healthy and he keeps doing the same thing, he'll be right back in the race. He'll make it next year, hopefully. Great to see David Lee make it. I'm glad they got one player on the team. You look at the East. I'm glad Drew Holiday made it. Great young player, great point guard. Glad to see Kyrie Irving on the team. The guys been playing lights out. The Bulls surprisingly have two players on the team. That's a testament to their strength and teamwork. Without Derrick Rose, there's still a great team to watch. There's still a team that's a contender in the East, and they have two All-Stars in Noah and Dean. So it's great that they were able to get that done. I kind of wish Brandon Jennings got a little love. The Milwaukee team is playing well. It's weird not seeing a Hawk on the team.
Mm-hmm.
No Atlanta Hawks. No Brooklyn Nets player, huh?
No Brooklyn Nets.
And that was a bit of a surprise. I thought at least Brook Lopez would be a reserve, but that's unfortunate. And other than that, I have no real gripes. What about you, Lamar?
Maybe the only snub I really can bring out of, I really think in this case, and maybe who knows what happens with Rondo's injury, that he might can be in the All-Star game. But I really would love to see J.R. Smith in the All-Star game. And I know, laugh if you may, but J.R. has really improved himself this season. He's been a more mature player, and he's really upped his total a little bit this season right now. I mean, he's played a lot better. He's not, he's still, sometimes he may take a few questionable shots here and there, but he's not doing it as frequently as he has been doing it in the past in his career. And he's really helped out this Knicks team as pretty much as a very good sixth man, which he's been like that before in the past. And I'm trying to pull up his stats right now, and actually, at this point in time, he has 16.2 points, a career high in points per game, and he's making he's playing a little bit better, and all that. So I really love to see him in the All-Star game. Um,
Well, yeah, I agree with you on that point. I think with Rondo and his, ACL injury,
all right,
I think the possibility of J.R. Smith being also now is very, very possible. I think he does deserve that look. Granted, initially, but if Rondo was never injured, I would be like, yeah, but he can, if he does it next year, maybe he'll make it. But
exactly.
now that Rondo's out, I definitely agree with that. And I think he probably will be an All-Star now. You're right. He's come a long way from his days with Denver. He plays smarter basketball. He seems to finally know that his role, he's comfortable with his role. And, it's great to see. When during the lockout, he had a very impressive run in China that I thought was a bit of a smoke screen. I didn't think he'll be able to come duplicate that in the States, but, man, he's done that and more. And he's a huge part of the Knicks' success this year. So, yeah, he definitely deserves to be rewarded with an All-Star pick. I heard a lot of people gripe about Jamal Crawford not making the team. Jamal Crawford. He's a guy that's streaky, he can score a lot of points in a short period of time, but at the end of the day, Jamal Crawford is still Jamal Crawford. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a talented guy, but he's been in the league 13 years, and that's just the way he plays. I just don't think that's worth the All-Star burst.
Exactly, and you got to look at it all. You got to look at pretty much the West in its own entirety. If he had been in the East, maybe you probably could really say that he does deserve a pretty good look in the team based on the stats that he's really been putting up. But in the West is pretty stacked with guards. And I mean, after Chris Paul and Kobe Bryant, you had guys like James Harden, which I don't think he's really that he doesn't deserve that. James Harden deserves it, but Jamal Crawford doesn't deserve it over him. Tony Parker, who's had a good year, Jamal Crawford does not deserve it over him. Russell Westbrook, of course, and Jamal Crawford does not deserve it over him. So pretty much it would be like it's kind of hard to see him try to get a chance to make it had it been the West. So, in that case there, I hate to say it, but he might be a very good sixth man, but as far as him making it into the All-Star game, I really don't think he's going to do that.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where nobody gets entirely pleased by the All-Star selections. There's going to be somebody left out. There's going to be some fan unhappy, and that's just how it goes, But for the most part, I think the fans and the coaches got it right.
Exactly, and me too. And hey, did you even get a chance to see LeBron's tweet about the All-Star game, by the way?
No, I haven't. What was it?
I think he said that he would have loved to see them go to like 15 players so there wouldn't be any snubs. But the fact of the matter is, there's always going to be a snub no matter what. I mean, even if you could probably build it up to like 20 players. There's always going to be one player that's probably going to feel like that he should have been in there and shouldn't have been in there. So, but it gives us a lot to talk about. It gives everything about it as well. And I also like to say in the East too that looking at all the reserves they have 5 players that's going to make it to the All-Star game for their first time, and 1 player that's going to make it to it in his second time. So, you get a chance to see some new blood in that case too.
Right. You definitely get to see new blood, and you get to see new stars being developed. And guys that are probably going to make a lot of more All-Star games. This I highly doubt this will be, Drew Holiday's last All-Star game, or Kyrie Irving's last All-Star game, or Paul George's last All-Star game. So, great to see young guys get their chance to finally shine and, put on a show. And the league is all about making new stars. That's the one thing you love about the NBA. There are going to be new stars. I guess you can say the NBA had a drought maybe around the early 2000s, like when Mike first left. But even then, you had Vince Carter, you had the arrival of Kobe Bryant, you had Tracy McGrady, you had, Marbury. The NBA is great at making new stars. That's why when Kobe Bryant does retire, it's not going to be that much of a blow because you still have LeBron James, you still have Carmelo Anthony, you still have Kevin Durant, you have Kyrie Irving in Cleveland, you have Steph Curry in Golden State. So the NBA has always been great under David Stern watch of making new stars and new household names.
Right, and I hope they continue to do that even after he gets out of the, after he steps down as commissioner. And also, good thing about Tyson Chandler getting his first All-Star appearance as well, which was well deserved too. And I also would love to see Joakim Noah and LeBron James, how they react together on the same court, on the same team at the same time too. But yeah.
Oh yeah, playing storylines.
That's all going to be fun, and I hope that's going to be a very good, interesting All-Star game in that regard too. And yeah, most definitely. So we're going to take ourselves another 30-second little break, and we're going to come right back with another segment. I'm pretty sure we'll figure something out that we're going to talk about. I think we're probably going to talk about the Manti Te'o thing. How about that?
Let's do it.
All right. Well, we will be right back. This is the Gafford and Brown Show. All right, we're right back with the Gafford and Brown Show. Had ourselves two very good segments. Let's also take a look about what is going on throughout the sports news today. A lot of people have been talking about, let's see here, Allen Iverson. The Dallas Mavericks were thinking about actually bringing him in, having him in as they offered him a D-League contract to the Texas Legends, but he felt like that it wasn't his right interest to take that thought at that time. What do you think about that, Rob?
I think Allen Iverson finally needs a reality check. Here's why. Okay, after his departure from Philly, the Nuggets, and it was still apparent that Allen Iverson felt like he was the man. And, the Melo Iverson experiment failed horribly because Iverson thought he still was the man. He thought he still needed to take as many shots, more shots than anybody else on the team. And it didn't work because he's Iverson, and his style of play is outdated for kind of it opened up the doors for a lot of players. I mean, when you ask any player in the NBA who's let's say 27 and under, they're probably going to tell you that growing up their favorite player to watch was Allen Iverson. If they don't remember Jordan. If they don't remember Jordan 9 times out of 10, they're going to say the favorite player is Kobe Bryant or Allen Iverson. Because Allen Iverson's style of play, it was unparalleled to anything we've really seen before. It was like the playground meets organized sports. And he was such a warrior on the court. The hits he took, the style of play, the attitude, the swagger, the tattoos, the headband, the braids. It was all new. And it opened up so many people's eyes. Like, wow, this is a guy that I can relate to. And, he will always be remembered for that. But at the same time, Allen Iverson has realized that he's not the same guy anymore. The NBA has evolved. There's no way on earth Allen Iverson could put up those numbers now in today's NBA. Allen Iverson would get destroyed by some of these point guards. You mean you tell me Allen Iverson would be able to hold Russell Westbrook? Or Iverson would be able to blow past Russell Westbrook or a Drew Holiday, even a Darren Collison? This has been as guard-heavy as I've seen the NBA. There are so many talented point guards, so many talented guys playing the two. Then you have these hybrid players that are a mixture of almost everything. They can be 6'9", yet they have the ball handling ability of a point guard. So it's like Iverson needs a reality check, and he needs to realize that, hey, your time to play professional basketball is limited.
Mm-hmm.
You have to take whatever opportunity is offered to you. Yes, we know you're an MVP winner. We know you're an Olympian. We know that you're a scoring champion. You're an all-star MVP. You were the face of an NBA franchise. You were one of the NBA's most controversial yet engaging stars. But that time has passed. Allen Iverson is a fleeting footnote of the NBA's past. That era has left. And he needs to realize that he only has so many opportunities to still play basketball on a professional level and still get recognized for that. He's not going to be that guy anymore on any team. That was part of the reason of his departure when he was with the Memphis Grizzlies. He didn't like the fact that he was getting benched.
Mm-hmm.
To make way for guys like Rudy Gay and other younger talent. Because Allen Iverson still thinks that he's that guy and he has the ability to go out there and put an average 30 points, when that's not the case anymore.
Right. And I hate,
So,
right, and I hate to have to say this about him too, because I as one was really giddy about this news, and I really wanted to see it, and I still want him to get a shot somewhere else, but he kind of has to also look at himself in the mirror. Like, really, he's not going to be the guy that's going to average a lot of points like he used to again. Um, I was really giddy, and it came at an ironic time here that Dirk had passed him up as actually the scoring leader the night before the news came out. And, to see if I would have seen, if he would have joined the Mavericks, and let's say he would have did pretty well with the Texas Legends and actually got promoted to the Mavericks, I would have been probably first in line to get that Iverson 3 Mavericks jersey, probably along with a Dirk jersey along as well, and probably would have made very good plans to go to the game by itself too. But he does need a reality check in this case too, and because he's not going to be the same guy, and coming off the bench is not a bad thing. I mean, it's not really a bad thing. A lot of players have made being the sixth man a very good role. I mean, look at Lamar Odom when he was with the Lakers. I mean, look at him. I mean, he'll get a start here and there, but he played his role very well. Jason Terry, another guy from the Mavericks, who really made being a sixth man a very good role. A lot of players you can really what's the other player's name? Bobby Jackson.
Right.
Bobby Jackson from the Sacramento Kings. This is a guy that made his role very well, and he was regarded as one of the best six men. So being a sixth man doesn't necessarily mean that you're a scrub, you're not a starter or anything else like that. You can still get your opportunities and pick your points and pick your poison as a six man. And he really needs to look at that in the mirror, that he's not as good as he once was, and the league that is in there right now, it is pretty much has evolved, and it's thanks to him. And thanks to him. And I really can can I really make this parallel on this, Rob? And you can tell me if this is right or wrong. It's kind of like Vic as a quarterback. It's kind of like Michael Vick as a quarterback. I mean, Michael Vick, we saw him we've seen running quarterbacks before. But Michael Vick, we never seen a guy that could run like Michael Vick at that point in time, but also with the throwing ability that he had too. And the sad thing is, with both of those players, they really took a little bit of a taxing part of their careers, and injuries caught up to them a little bit too. So, but they opened the door up for a lot of other players who probably who played a little bit smarter and all that. So, he really needs to look at himself in the mirror and really needs to realize here, hey, whenever the NBA comes knocking, you got to take that opportunity. Because let's say if Tracy McGrady was in the same situation right now, which I really think that he's probably trying to get back into the NBA too, you think he would turn something like this down?
No, I couldn't see Tracy McGrady turning it down, because this is a guy who was taking the role of being a bench player. He's taken that role before, so I couldn't see kind of D-League opportunity, because we've seen him in Detroit take the role of a bench player. in Atlanta, he took the role of a bench player. So, this isn't anything foreign to him. And I think he's at this point in his career, he's comfortable with that. I mean, look at his cousin, Vince Carter. Vince Carter arguably was one of the biggest stars of the early 2000s. Air Canada, the Nike deal, the dunk contest. This was a guy many people saw as being the next Jordan or the next player to carry that decade. Now, with the injuries and trades and people questioning his desire to be that good, things didn't work out that way. But now he's still in the NBA, and he's still able to be productive, but he's taking a smaller role.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's all about humbling yourself and putting the team first. I mean, you look at the league, you got guys like Rashard Wallace, and Rashard Lewis, guys that used to be all-stars, used to get big contracts, guys that were once considered, to be great players, taking smaller roles to get championships and play on good teams. That's just how the game works. I mean, look at the Boston Celtics of the 80s. That team was loaded. You had future Hall of Famers sitting on the bench.
Right.
You had guys like Robert Parrish,
Bill Walton.
Danny Ainge. Guys like that, Bill Walton, sitting on the bench. Hall of Famers sitting on the bench, putting effort in and putting the team first because they knew they had a chance to do something special. Those are the sacrifices you have to make when you're in the NBA, you're older, and you want to win. You have to put the team first, and you have to put, your pride and, your ego and what you think you can do aside and do what they need you to do.
Exactly. And another good player that really has brought to my attention here about this, Gary Payton did this for pretty much a long while. Like, he actually rolled the bench to get himself 2 rings. I think he got himself 2 rings. I know he got one with Miami, and I think he got one with Boston. Am I right?
I think he was on that Boston team at one time. I'm not for sure. I'm not for certain, but I'm sure. We could Google that and find out. But yeah, Gary Payton, a great example of a guy who was the man, the star, a face of a franchise, and when he couldn't do it by himself, and when his skills diminished some, eventually he took the role of being a bench player, to win and to, continue his career. That's just something that comes with the game. That's something you have to do, especially in basketball.
Oh, yeah, and most definitely. And actually, he wasn't on that team. I'm sorry about that, too. But, yeah, at least he did get a ring in this case, and at least he wanted to try to go ahead and get himself a ring, too. So, it's pretty much all for the common good. Because, if you, let's just say you do have yourself a very good role here if you're AI, and, you actually do get a chance to win a ring, and let's just say you're not putting up 20 points, you're not putting up 30 points, you might not even be putting up 15 points, but let's just say you put up 10 points in a minimal role on a team that wants you to make a shot here and a shot there, and you still get a ring. Will we look at you very differently as a player saying that you're the man and getting a ring? Probably not, because we know what you've done in the past. So, you got to do what you got to do sometimes, man.
Right, exactly.
Well, we're gonna also shift it to right now a little bit of a story that's gotten a whole lot of attention and kind of unwarranted attention in this case. That's the Manti Te'o story. What are your thoughts about that, Rob?
Well, honestly, I don't even know where we're at this point because the whole story was so ridiculous to me that I kind of stopped paying attention. Mm-hmm. It's silly because I wasn't skeptical at first. I was tired of hearing about the story. Every Notre Dame game, we would get the same story about how this courageous linebacker who lost his grandmother to cancer.
Yes.
Then he lost his girlfriend, and how he's able to overcome these odds and play at this high level and blah, blah, blah. Every game, it got to the point to where it was hard to swallow because you kept hearing so much about it. And then finally, this news leaked that, hey, he in a relationship with this girl, and apparently she was fake, and It's too much. And I think there's so many fingers you can point at. You can point the finger at child for keeping this going, after, there were so many red flags. Then you have, his friends and family who should have been a little bit more hands-on with the guy. You have the university who took, so much scrutiny and was trying to do so much to keep this a secret. It's just so much. It's a huge blame pie to go around. And I think the kid is going to really struggle to get over this because he's going to have to do so well in the NFL for us to forget this story. Because it's ridiculous. It's borderline sick if he actually kept this going and knew that this girl really didn't exist, because the story and the performance he gave was so riveting, the tears, the crying, the this and that, And it's just hard to believe that this guy is the face of a team. He's at Notre Dame. I'm sure he has tons of real-life girls throwing themselves at him. Yet he turns all that away with this pretend person. I don't get it. I wouldn't do it. It's really a bad episode of Catfish come to life. I just hope the kid does well in the league. I wouldn't be shocked if a team would pass him up just because of this story. I honestly wouldn't. I mean, we live in a society, in the NFL at least, where so much can ruin your draft stock. I mean, we've seen it happen. So I wouldn't be shocked if a team was like, hey, this kid is kind of, mentally, he's a little suspect. We don't know if he's fragile. We don't know if he's sick. We don't know if he's some type of, sociopath. So, we're going to pass on him. We're going to go safe route. So, it's so many questions now. And I just hope the kid does well in the league. And I hope he doesn't get tricked again like this if he really did get tricked. Because right now, honestly, I'm at the point where I think he knew what was up. And he knew the sympathy he would get. And he knew, let's be real, this story helped his Heisman race. I mean, it did. It helped. It was such a heartfelt story. This guy goes out. He plays so hard for, the spirit of his dead grandmother and his girlfriend. I mean, look at him. Look at the guy. He just got done crying in the locker room. Now he's out here with 5 sacks. It added to the plot. It added to the story. And, I feel duped. A lot of people feel duped. And, I'm sure the kid, he's a great person off the field. I'm sure he's done community service and all that stuff. But this story really kind of taints him a little bit. And hopefully he'll be able to overcome it. What are your thoughts, Lamar?
Man, I think you said a mouthful on this one because really, I'm tired of this story, to be honest with you. I don't know, I don't know whose side to really believe on in this case. And I mean, I don't know if I should feel sorry for the guy or should I feel disappointed for the guy for making this up? Or should I feel sorry for the guy for being duped in this case? I guess it is a good, with now the catfish world that we're looking at nowadays, and the popularity of the MTV show, and from after it being a movie and everything, it just came at the wrong place and the wrong time. Is now you got memes and all that stuff being constructed in his case as well. And it's just tough. It's pretty much gonna hurt his. Like you said, it's gonna hurt his draft stock. I looked at it right now from one of the mock drafts that I'm looking at right here, WalterFootball.com. I think earlier it had him like going to the Steelers at like 17, and it still kind of has him going in the first round, maybe to the Bengals to upgrade that defense. But who knows? I mean, who knows what could happen? I'm pretty sure, like how they do every draft process, they will grill him hard. I mean, we're talking about some GMs that asked Dez Bryant some personal questions and some sneering personal questions and stuff like that I wouldn't have even asked, and nobody ever should have asked at that point in time. Who knows what could they do about that? And man, he really has a lot to really repair on his image in that case.
Right. And it's going to take some time. And it's going to take a lot of work on his part, to get this story right into. I'm surprised he hasn't had a sit-down interview with Oprah yet, because I mean, the Jeremy Schaff interview was such a hole, because one, no cameras are rolling.
Mm-hmm.
All we saw were pictures, and we get Jeremy telling us how he's really this good kid and blah blah blah. It's like, really, you guys are really trying to go to bat for this guy if he's possibly lying. I say grill him. Show
Yes.
us the picture, show us the camera. Sit down with Oprah, tell your whole story, answer the tough questions, and let's just clear it there, because it's getting ridiculous.
Now, speaking of Oprah, she did at least get a chance to interview Lance Armstrong. Now, your thoughts about that?
Right, and it's unfortunate for Lance. I feel bad for him. Yes, he dope, but the man was going through so much. I mean, it's not right. You can't defend it. But to go through testicular cancer, then it spreads to your brain, and just it's really a tragic story. I mean, it almost takes something that was so pure at one point. Like the Live Strong movement was something that was good for not only people and survivors of cancer, but just anyone going through something difficult in their lives. And, now to have all this come out, it's kind of bittersweet, because, we finally get the truth, but this man that was once, heralded as a champion, heralded as an example of survival, is now tainted because he cheated to, win.
Mm-hmm.
It's all tragic. It's unfortunate. And, to me, still, Lance Armstrong is a great person with a great story.
Right.
And I think we should look past the doping and look at the man and look at the fact that this guy did so much for people that were going through the same struggles he was going through, and he was such a beacon of hope for so many people.
And exactly. And, a lot of people have been saying, well, in lieu of this whole thing, that they wanted they want their money back for their Live Strong bracelets. Nah. In this case, I wouldn't say give your money back for that, because at least you're helping out the cause and stuff. I feel bad that he doped in that case though too, and this might be the one thing that kind of can be a little bit that taints the sport of cycling even more than it really has, because a lot of people have been, it seems like ever since Lance Armstrong has been, even during the little witch hunt that they had of him, it seemed like a lot of people have been busted for doping as well, and that might be one of the, with a sport that has been historically, that has had, doping allegations before. I wouldn't say it would be like the death knell of it, but it kind of taints it a little bit more. You think?
Yeah, it's very it's just the doping in sports, man. It's something that we all know about, though. That's the thing that tricks me. I mean, it's an ugly truth that a lot of us don't want to accept. I mean, this is a game. These are games where people make millions of dollars. Much money is invested.
Mm-hmm.
And to put this pressure on these people, to put this hype on these people, they have to perform.
Right.
This is what they have to do, and they have to do it well. I'm not condoning, I'm not saying it's right, but I think we're so quick to judge and point fingers and say this is wrong, this is right, when in real life we've done things just as worse.
Mm-hmm.
There are far worse things that an athlete can do other than doping.
Right.
I think we were so quick with it. Like Ray Lewis was attempted murder. I'm glad that it was cleared up and all that, but we're really going to, butcher this man and, slander his name for doping when, you have other athletes. I mean, Dante Stallworth killed the man.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, he's clear of it now, but he killed the man. Drunk, driving, things like that. Those are things that can't be reversed. A life was taken.
Right.
So doping to me is not that I'm not going to just, punish an athlete by saying that they're, this cheap or they're a disgrace to the sport. I'm not doing that at all. And to any athlete, even A-Rod and his recent, allegations that he's taking HGH and other PEDs, I'm not doing it, because if we were placed in that situation, who knows what we would do to make sure that we keep our millions of dollars, that we keep our fame, that we keep this pressure, off our back. So, who knows?
Right. You never know what you're capable of doing pretty much until you're faced with that position, and that's a good point because hey, I mean, the people that are pretty much piling on and talking about him right now, what would they do in this case? I
Right.
mean, what would they do in this case? So, hey, I mean, that's a very good point right there because I can't really crush him too much about it, but yep, most definitely, man. Well, all right, we are going to take another 30-second break, and we'll be right back to pretty much wrap up the show. We're going to talk a little bit about the college basketball season. It's getting a little bit very good right now too. So stay tuned, and we will be right back. We're right back with the Gafford and Brown show. Pretty much going to wrap things up a little bit more here, but first we're going to talk a little bit about the college basketball season. Right now, it looks like we got ourselves a number one in the media poll, in the AP poll. We got Michigan, which is the new number one team. They're 19-1. And in the USA Today coaches poll, you got Kansas, who's number one in that poll. Now, both teams are number two in the opposite polls that they're not number one in. So, what can you take about this college basketball season from so far, and getting a little bit of a look at it right now?
Well, so far, I've been keeping up with most of it, and I got to say that, there are a lot of great teams that are playing right now. You have, Kansas, like you said, is number one. You have Duke, who was the number one team for several weeks until they devastating lost to Miami. And you have Michigan, who's been playing well, but I just can't. I don't have much faith in them yet because, I wouldn't say the schedule has been weak, but I just want to see more out-of-conference play from them. You also have Indiana, who's having a great season. They're very efficient on offense. You can never count out Michigan State and Tom Izzo. And also, you have Louisville. They just snapped a three-game losing streak. They're trying to get back in their stride. And just a lot of great storylines this year. You have Georgetown, Notre Dame, who keeps finding players to keep implementing in their system and keep them relevant. Kind of a down year for North Carolina, I gotta say. Which is odd because they're one of the teams that had such superior recruiting classes. But this seems to be kind of a transitional year for them. Looks like North Carolina State might take their place this year in the ACC. Don't know how any of this is going to go. I mean, we really never do in college basketball because the probability of upsets are really, possible. We never have a clear-cut favorite sometimes. Some years some years you don't. But I have to say right now, I like the odds of a team like Indiana or a team like Kansas, that have great scores and, solid coaches. Now, who knows what happens when the tournament actually gets there? What are your thoughts, Lamar, about this college season so far?
And it's pretty much pretty much the same as yours here. North Carolina has not looked impressive. I see the bracketology right now from Joe Lunardi, and he still I actually has them in as a nine seed. But it's been a pretty good season so far. You got Duke that has been pretty much atop, but yet you had two losses. I mean, hey, and I had to give a shout out to NC State because I mean this team is pretty much for real right now because they just beat Duke, and I think they also beat they beat North Carolina as well. And you gotta really, like you said, you gotta take them seriously in this case in that regard. Their run last year helped them out, and you got to take them seriously this year. Miami's been a very good team though. I A lot of people were talking about the expectations of them beating Duke, and to even see them get beat like that was just like shocking to me because I mean I know I don't like Duke, but I don't want them to lose like that. So this season right now, it seems like you got your usual suspects and all that as far as who's probably going to be very good teams. Syracuse is up there as well. Louisville's up there. Kansas is doing pretty well. All of that. And Arizona looks like they've really making a bounce back too. I'm just basically gonna enjoy this for the ride all the way until the first Duke North Carolina game, because that's really now that kind of piques my interest a little bit more in college basketball.
Right, and that's just. I think the tournament time is one of my favorite times of college basketball season. When we had the Big East tournament, we had the Big Ten, the ACC. One of my favorite times of the year, because that's when you start seeing the teams, are close to taking that leap into the brackets and where they're standing. And it's really kind of bad. Once again, the conference realignment is doing so much ill to the classic Big East matchups we've gotten used to, and still getting adjusted to that. But it's whatever, because we still have great teams and great rivalries that continue to go on. And the brackets give us a chance to see some of those matchups that we won't see during the regular season.
Exactly, and like you said, those tournament games. I mean, just been amazing. I mean, regardless of whatever it was. I mean, I think Syracuse and UConn was. I think those were the two teams that had that 6 overtime game, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that still is a classic right there. And even though you might not see that from those two teams anymore because Syracuse is going to the ACC, you're still probably really good. You might get a chance to see some other teams. You might get a chance to bid some new rivalries. Not saying I like realignment so much, but I guess this is the point in time. Still, we're gonna get ourselves some very good matchups and everything. And I'm pretty sure once the calendar switches to February, and once it gets almost that time to get to selection Sunday, you're gonna see a lot more teams pretty much putting it all out there on the court just in order to get into the big dance and not get into the NIT or some of the other lesser tournaments. Because I really enjoyed this point in time of the season. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun time, and definitely always, exciting to watch the lead up to March Madness.
Exactly. So we're going to also pretty much wrap up the show right now. A lot of people have been talking about the Super Bowl media day. I hope to be there one day, as I said once before, but I kind of don't want to be dressing like an idiot like some of these other people, though, too.
Right, and some of the questions have been a little crazy, as always.
Oh, of course. And somebody had asked Ray Lewis about using banned deer antler spray. Like, really? All I could just do is just laugh at that one right there, Rob.
Yeah, I think so far one of the biggest things has been Ed Reed talking about Ray Lewis probably coming back next year.
And I really hope that he does get a chance to come back. I know he had been talking about it if he didn't win the Super Bowl, and it looked like it sounded like at one point in time the Patriots were probably going to be one of those teams that tried to get him. But like I said, getting a chance, I really think that he deserves it too, because and actually gets a chance to play at the Super Bowl near his hometown. I mean, because he went to Destrehan High School, so that's also you gotta think that's also going to be amazing for him too. For that, but I think he still has enough in the tank for maybe one, maybe two more seasons and stuff. So who knows how that's going to be. Some more news right here. The NFL Players Association and Harvard are planning a $1 million player study, pretty much to treat players' injuries and illnesses, according to CNN. What do you think about that?
Well, that's interesting. I feel like the NFL, man, that they're doing so much, damage control on this whole concussion situation and player safety that it's getting like they're getting pressured into having to change the game, and it's a good thing and a bad thing all at once because I mean, let's be honest, football is a brutal game. It's a game that has no remorse and no conscience when it comes to the safety of players and their bodies. It's unfortunate, but that's just the way it is. This game does not care about the safety of the future body, the physical welfare of players. It's a brutal sport, and I think we have to come to grips with the fact that this game has some bitter consequences. And if we continue to watch it and we want to play the way we want to play, well, that's just something we have to accept. And there are plenty of players that are aware of these consequences. I mean, Herm Edwards one day said, he has bad knees, he has bad shoulders, but if you gave him a chance to do it all over again, he'll do it. So, these are grown men that know what they're doing. Granted, there should be better, pensions and things put in place to take care of these players once they leave this game because, it's their bodies that are making the NFL so much money.
Right.
That's what I fight for. Now, player safety is always going to be an issue, but there's only so much safety you can do when you play a sport where the objective is, to hit another person. There's only so much you can do with that, but, there has to be necessary steps taken, and I'm glad there are efforts being made, like the one you mentioned to, help players leave this sport, better than the ones that came before them who are literally broken down or, taking their own lives because their brains have been, under so much trauma that they have to do that. And, it's unfortunate, but that's just the game that we love and the consequences of this game.
Right. And sadly, they what is to expect of the game once you get there and all that. And like I said, I'm glad that they are making the necessary steps in order to to protect those players, in order to get the studies out and all that stuff. I mean, you have to though give them better pensions, like you said, in that case. And you really have to do that. You kind of also have to make it a little bit safer too for your, for the kids that might aspire to want to probably be the next Ray Lewis. Maybe they want to be the next Tom Brady or Peyton Manning or anything else like that. You got to make it a little bit safer. There are ways to make it safer, but and not take out the aspect that we really liked about the whole game too. The hits, the hard hits, and all that stuff. I mean, sometimes we really look at the flags and everything. We really see that, oh my goodness, I mean, really, they got flagged for that. But, I mean, there is a way that they can make it safe and still legislate the hard hits. There is a way. So, it's all going to take in time, and I'm pretty sure when they get everything situated and all that stuff, it's pretty much going to be a good idea and everything. Some more news, and also yesterday, the Miami Heat went to the White House to visit President Obama and all that stuff. And once again, congratulations to that team, and congratulations to LeBron James for a very good season too last year.
Right, and continued success.
And continued success, of course. And we also got the NHL. The hockey is back finally after all this time, and I'm glad to see it back. And I'm glad I might get a chance to watch a game one of these days. Trust me, if I get an off day, I probably will get a chance to watch the game. If I don't, of course, the playoffs, I might get a chance to watch even one of those games too. But all right, well, it looks like right now this would be a very good time to end the show right now. You got any ideas of probably when's going to be the next show, Rob?
If not next Friday, if not this upcoming Friday, Monday with a Super Bowl wrap-up, definitely.
And that would be a very good idea with all of that too. So once again, this is Lamar Gafford.
I'm Robert Brown.
And we are concluding the Gafford and Brown show. We will be back in either one of those days, and There you go. Take care, everybody, and have a good Super Bowl.